Hello, welcome to Real Talk with Salwa. I'm so excited about today's episode. Um, we're going to talk about so many things, but most importantly, we are going to learn and unlearn, and hopefully that this video will reach the right audience. By right audience, I mean the persons concerned, because I'll be calling out some people. So hopefully the video will reach the persons concerned, and then they'll be able to maybe learn a thing or two from what I'm going to say. Welcome. This is Real Talk with Salwa. My name is Salwa Mukoda Balaba Okiring. I have 4 names, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be talking to you. Where do I start from? There is a lot going on in our country. There's so many things that we should be concerned about. I don't know if you are concerned, because personally, I am very concerned. And that is why we are recording this episode, because we have to talk about these things. We are tired of keeping quiet. And by keeping quiet is not going to lead us anywhere. We have kept quiet for so long. So we're going to start speaking up on issues that affect us here in our country, but also globally. Yeah, so let us start with what is going on in the papers, on the news. What is happening? One, have you heard that government decided that medical interns do not deserve to be paid? For whatever reason, have you heard that we are not paying our medical interns anymore? Now, government of Uganda, really? Huh? Really? You know, I think that when I think about these issues of paying medical interns, this thing has been going on for so long. It becomes an issue, and then it's not an issue anymore, and then it becomes an issue again. And I wonder, why do we have to keep doing the whole back and forth? Why do we have to keep visiting the same thing, revisiting it over and over again? And it is something so simple, and you'd think common sense would dictate that if someone is working, they should get paid. I don't think there is anyone who goes to school, graduates, and then wants to work for free for a whole year, I believe, for a whole year, working for free in the name of an internship. First of all, why is it called an internship? Why isn't it called like a residence, or why isn't it called something different? Because why is it called an internship if the person has already graduated? This is a doctor who has graduated, who has a medical degree. If they have to do some kind of training as part of their, academic journey, or as part of the requirements that they need to be certified, why are you calling it an intern, and why do you want them to go without pay? One of our biggest problems in Uganda is selfishness. And I'm going to call out our leaders for being selfish. Ugandan politicians and leaders, you're very selfish people. You cannot sit down simply because your kids can afford to go to university very easily, sail through, and then graduate, and then you're able to afford to take care of them during that period of time when they're doing this internship. You cannot expect that that is the situation in every family. There are parents who struggle so hard to pay school fees for their children, expecting that when the child grows up, they'll be able to earn a living, take care of themselves, and also take care of their other family members. And now you're telling this parent that your child is going to graduate and work for free, simply because you can afford to take care of your children, give them cars, buy them fuel to go to work. Also because your children are not even going to the government facilities for internship. They're going to private hospitals, well-equipped hospitals, where they're probably getting certain allowances from the hospital, because the hospitals are making money. Private hospitals make a lot of money. So, selfishness. It is just selfish, you're also not thinking about the ordinary Ugandan who is using these hospitals. If you go to a hospital and the person tending to you has not eaten, they have not had lunch, they've not had breakfast, they probably don't have transport to take them back home, how would you feel being treated by such a person? Also, isn't it going to affect their efficiency? Because now they are not just worried about, oh, I don't have, they are worried about so many things. At the end of the month, I don't have rent. At the end of this month, I don't have enough money to do what I want to do. And that is the person that is going to be treating. Those are the doctors that are going to be treating people in hospitals. So this thing of the medical interns, I don't think the back and forth needs to end. Let the medical interns get paid. Let us stop the selfishness. Selfishness because we are not using the facilities where these medical interns that are unpaid are working. Selfishness because our personal, our relatives or our family members who are in the same situation are not affected by non-payment. They have money. You politicians, you're rich, you have money. But that should not deter you from actually caring about the ordinary Ugandan. That is not okay. And we are going to call you out. You're selfish. And you should stop being selfish. Because it's just not human to be that kind of a person. Have some empathy, Think about the people who use these facilities, what kind of doctors they're going to be attending, what kind of doctors are going to be attending to them. Think about the parents who have paid school fees for that, to take their kids through medical school, through struggles, and then when their kids graduate, they still have to take care of them for a whole year while they do this internship that you have put in place as a prerequisite for them to be certified doctors. That's not okay. That's just not okay. So that has been happening. That needs to end. It is not okay. By the way, as a lawyer, if I start even thinking about it, that's a violation of human rights. It's a violation of human rights because you're forcing someone to work for free in the name of it's part of your training. No. Because it's work. It's work. It should be paid. But internships should be paid. And I would understand an unpaid internship, which happens during the course of study while you are at university in your first year, second year, third year, or fourth year. But an internship that happens after you have graduated, for you not to be paid, I can argue that that is a violation of human rights. And if we had a judicial system that actually has liberal judges that think outside the box, trust me, such policies would be declared unconstitutional. But away from that, we have other issues that are happening that I want to talk about. We have the Ebola. We have Ebola. We have Ebola. We have an Ebola crisis. But what I want to say about the Ebola, please take care of yourselves because Ebola is a very dangerous disease. But that said, what I want to talk about the Ebola issue is the Kenyan quarantine agreement with the USA. First of all, African leaders, why are you very non-patriotic? Why are African, I never understand it. Why are African leaders very non-patriotic? You literally hate your country. You hate the citizens in your country. You hate your own people to the extent that you're willing to risk their lives in the name of a partnership with a certain superpower or money or favor, whatever it is that benefits you as the leader. You don't think about you. Kenya got into an agreement with the USA for the Kenyan government to set up quarantine, centers in Kenya for US citizens. Mind you, there is no Ebola in Kenya. For Ebola patients, there is no Ebola in Kenya. So the USA says, now, for us, we cannot bring Ebola into our country, so we should take it to Kenya. And then the Kenyan president says, depending based on our relationship with the USA, we are going to do this because the USA has supported us, and the USA is a very good, partner of ours. Can you imagine, guys? And then the Kenyan youth went to the streets and started burning down their country. Rightly so. I don't incite violence, but demonstrations are acceptable in certain circumstances. But why is it okay? First of all, two things. Why is it okay for the USA to think that it is okay to export your patients to another country to be the one risking the lives of the health workers, the citizens, to take care of your citizens? I don't know why the United States thinks that it is some kind of small god on earth. As far as I know, the USA has one of the best health systems in the world. It has a very good health system, very good hospitals, very good machines, doctors. It has all the money it needs to take care of its Ebola patients. Why are you exporting Ebola patients to Kenya? Your patients, your citizens to Kenya, to another country. Not even just Kenya, to any other country. That is taking advantage of your power. Manipulating countries that are desperate. And that is not okay. So USA, please, do better. Do better. And again, as a lawyer, I can argue that that violates human rights. I can argue. I can have like 10 arguments that what you're doing is not okay when it comes to international human rights law and when it comes to international law. Now, back to the Kenyan leaders or the president. Don't hate your citizens to that extent that you're willing to risk their lives for small favors from a certain government. Also, African leaders, you should have a sense of pride. You should have a sense of pride. You should not be a dumpster where superpowers just come and dump anything on you. They dump policies on you. They dump all these requirements on you simply because of the small favors they do for you. You should have some pride. By the way, I honestly believe, even in our personal lives, I honestly believe by the time a person tries to threaten you to get something from you, that means they need you more than you need them. So if the USA says, oh, if you don't do this, we're going to do this. If you have to use threats to get something out of someone, then it means you don't have actual power. You're just trying to use another person's weaknesses to get what you want. And that simply means that you need the other person more than they need you. So even if Kenya refused to agree to set up those quarantine centers in Kenya for USA citizens who have Ebola, there is nothing America would do about it. Nothing. I promise you. But away from Ebola, but that is unfortunate, and the Kenyan citizens are right to be annoyed. I'm also annoyed, and I'm not a Kenyan. I'm also annoyed. It is annoying. This is why this is neo-colonialism, and it is also depicting, it gives a picture of the Kenyan citizens being second-class citizens. Why can't American citizens be the ones to be at risk? Why doesn't Ebola go to their country? They are special. Are American citizens special? I do not think so. At least not to me. They're not. So if for whatever reasons you feel you need a quarantine center in Kenya, please set it up in your country. USA, set it up in your country. And that's just it, because your citizens are not special. Don't risk the lives of innocent African men and women simply because you feel like, what? What do you feel like? I don't even know. That I'm just so annoyed now. Anyway, moving on from Ebola, the other thing in current affairs that I want us to talk about, in Uganda, we have had ministerial appointments. So we've had ministerial appointments, and we've never had so much, chaos surrounding ministerial appointments like we have had this time. First of all, the cabinet did not change very much. Most positions, the big positions, were retained by the previous cabinet members, which is, I do not know what to think about that. I don't know. I am not a politician yet, but I don't think, in a country like Uganda that has majority youth, I would think that even when it comes to ministerial, cabinet, parliament, I would think the youth would dominate such spaces as well, but that is not the case with Uganda. You see ministers of such new matters like technology, ICT, you see ministers, even in such departments, being people who are probably, who some people, I don't even think they know how to use a smartphone. I do not know. I don't think, these are political appointments, so I don't know what criteria, the appointing authority takes note of when handing out or appointing cabinet members, but we should probably have specific guidelines on who to appoint to what cabinet position. The Minister of ICT should not be anyone who is older than 35 years, because anyone who is older than 35 years most likely does not understand technology. And no offense to the people who are older than 35 years, except for people who have taken the time to learn technology, appreciate it, like my boss. Those are the only people who would be, and I would think that is a technical department. You have to understand ICT properly to be a minister of ICT, and that's just it. It's not okay to just throw people into these positions like the political rewards, the political rewards for people's loyalty. It's not okay. It is not okay, and I am not going to bite my tongue when I say it's not okay. The minister, for every position, every ministerial position, someone should have some technical knowledge and a good amount of technical knowledge when it comes to that department they're going to head. If it is finance, it has to be someone who understands finance and economics. If it is ICT, it has to be a person who understands ICT. If it is local government, it has to be a person who understands public policies, public administration. We should stop cabinet appointments based on people's loyalty to the appointing authority. It is not okay. But also on the ministerial appointments, we had an issue of dual citizenship. And this has been like a whole Twitter war. War on X, not Twitter. On X, there's been like a whole war of this minister has dual citizenship, or this one has triple citizenship. What happens when a person has dual citizenship, triple citizenship? One thing that is one of our biggest problems in this country is we do not have policies, clear policies that clearly elaborate or state procedures when it comes to certain things. Everyone is doing what they want. Everyone is doing what they are comfortable with. For example, someone wakes up and says, for you to be a minister, you have to renounce your citizenship. How do you renounce citizenship? When does it become an effective renunciation? What happens when you approved before it is up, the renunciation has been effective? Nothing. It's just a gamble. You're appointed as a minister, that your citizenship, renounce your citizenship. What does sending an email or writing a letter do? And then you're accepting someone to send an email, and then the other one who does not, who brings a letter, you say that is not sufficient. Everyone does what they're comfortable with. Everyone does what they feel is right, because we do not have clear processes and procedures. It is one of our biggest, the worst things about this country. Everyone is doing what they are comfortable. Everyone does what they think is right in the moment. And that is not okay. So if a cabinet minister has to renounce their citizenship before the ministerial position is approved, let them renounce citizenship before it is approved. But let it not just be, I am no longer interested in being a citizen of this country. No, let it be a clear renunciation that has been approved, period. Because what if it is not approved? What if they recall their renunciation? Because I could write an embassy and say that was a mistake. It was not even me who wrote that email or that letter. I can say that after I have been approved. Then what? Is there someone in Parliament or the Appointments Committee who is going to go and double check with Canada or USA or Kenya or whatever country it is? Is there a person who is going to double check with these countries and say, this person's renunciation is still valid for the whole term of the person's ministerial position? Stop playing mind games on us, please. If you want, so the law, you know, Uganda, we are very good at legislating very useless issues. We are very good at legislating very useless issues. And when it comes to the useful stuff, you find nothing. So the law is not even clear on what the Appointments Committee is supposed to do in terms of the renunciation. What is the Appointments Committee? What is it supposed to do? What is a valid renunciation? And then what is not? Is it a mere letter? Is it an email? Is it a phone call? We don't know the law. So even the Appointments Committee, they're not lawyers. Many of them are not lawyers, so they also don't know what to do. And that is how we are having a Twitter war where it's like some people are approved with their dual citizenship, others are rejected. And that's not fair. That's not fair. If you're going to accept a person who has sent an email, accept the person who has written a letter as well, or even made a phone call. If that is the procedure you're taking, until the law is very clear on how one must renounce and what is a valid renunciation. So that is about the ministerial appointments. I'm not going to go any further into that. As we had the presidential State of the Nation address yesterday. We had the president address the nation for the first time yesterday. I'm not going to say much about this because, quite honestly, I don't usually watch the address because I try to protect my mental health nowadays by not watching things that are going to affect me or affect my mood. So I didn't watch it, the whole of it, but I watched parts of it. And when I was watching, I kept seeing the president referring to the programs or projects, you know, the government has done and how they have impacted people's lives. So there were like some videos of people coming to tell us, you know, what project it was and how it helped them. First of all, government of Uganda, one of the biggest problems our government has is our government is very good with coming up with programs. Very good programs, by the way, and projects, you know, to help people eradicate poverty, to help people fight poverty, to fight income inequality. Government is very good with coming out with all these projects. Now, the issue is the effectiveness of these projects is usually questionable. How effective are these projects? Is there a monitoring and evaluation tool that the government uses to see, has this project actually done what it is supposed to do? Because I was talking about the 4-acre, you know, program? First of all, for a program where you need to have, for starters, 4 acres, is it eradicating poverty? Because if a person has 4 acres of property, they are already not poor per se. Land is like one of our greatest resources. You understand? And then you see a person saying, I got ABCD from the government and I started farming, and this person has like 50 acres. And then you wonder, okay, you had 50 acres of land. What happens to a person from Kamuli, my aunt or uncle in Kamuli, who does not have 50 acres? How is the government helping them to also benefit from these projects or programs? You know, someone who has like a small piece of land, you know, farming, all these programs require you to have one, land. So the actual poor person who has nothing, who has not a single, who does not have a single piece of land, is not going to benefit from these programs. So as the president was talking, I was like, but this is a person who has a huge piece of land. There is a gentleman they showed who said he got 1 million for PDM. He used 800,000 to buy 8 goats, something like that. But my aunt in Kamuli doesn't have anywhere to put 8 goats. So maybe government of Uganda should consider actually helping a poor person. 1 million for a person who doesn't have land. What is it going to do? Where are they going to rear their goats from? So me, I don't understand government of Uganda programs and policies. And then government talked about, and then the president talked about people working abroad, saying why would anyone need to go abroad? First of all, I don't think anyone wakes up and says, I want to go abroad when they are doing well in Uganda. I don't think it's possible unless someone has a mental problem. Nobody wakes up and they have a good job, they have a good income, they are living a decent life in Uganda. Or they have these opportunities and then they decide, oh, I'm going to go to an Arab country where it is so hot, like the president was saying, where it is so hot, where I can't breathe, where I'm still sleeping in a bed space with 20 other people from 20 different countries. Nobody does that. So President Museveni, when people go abroad, it is because they have tried everything in most cases, and it has failed. Or people who do not have hope. The people who graduate and they just know, I have graduated, but I'm not going to get a job because the systems have completely changed. You know, you have to know people, you have to have money, you have to do ABCD to get a job. So the people don't even want to bother. So the moment they graduate, they want to go abroad and work. Abroad, at least abroad, as long as you have a passport and you can speak some English, you can do something and make a living. So President Museveni, it is not that people go abroad because it is a choice or because they are excited about it. It is because everything here has failed. Everything has failed. So maybe we should look into what is forcing people to leave the country. Why are people running away? What is wrong? Now, medical doctors are going to start running out to go and work abroad, because abroad, you can make a lot of money as a doctor. Even as a nurse, even as a CNA, even as a home health aide, you can survive better than a doctor, a medical doctor in Uganda, so in a government facility. So, even the doctors are going to run away. Can you imagine? We already have a crisis. We don't have enough. And even the ones we have are going to run away because now you're taking away the little thing, the little incentive that they had to stay. And then government, again, State of the Nation address, President was talking about the chiefs who want bicycles, who want motorcycles. And he said for him, he used to ride a bicycle from Kazu to Rachtura. So he said, why don't they ride bicycles? Why don't the MPs ride bicycles? Why don't the MPs ride bicycles? Why do they have to drive cars of 300 million while medical interns are not even being paid? Why don't the MPs ride bicycles? You know, we have this thing in this country where we think certain things are okay for a certain group of people or a certain class of people and not others. If it is okay for a chief, a parish chief, to ride a bicycle, to work, then it should be okay for an MP to also ride a bicycle to work. It might even help us with the traffic jam in Kampala. So no, if they want motorcycles, it is the least we can do. Give them the motorcycles to make their movement and transport easier, like we have made the transport of MPs and the movement of MPs easier. Okay? So no, let them get their bicycles, please. Otherwise, let them get their motorcycles. If they have to ride bicycles, let the MPs also ride bicycles. I have so much to talk about current affairs, but that is it for this episode. We are going to add more on this in our next episode. Bye.